Welcome everybody to a look at the second film in the George Peppard Film Focus box set from Imprint. The second film is 1969's Pendulum. This is directed by George Schaefer, who I've not seen anything else from before. It's a neo-noir crime thriller, clocking in at 102 minutes long, and alongside George Peppard, we've got the likes of Gene Seberg, who was in the original Airport film, as well as Richard Kiley, who was in the likes of Pick Up on South Street, The Sniper, The Mob, but most people have probably heard him more than actually seen him, as he was the voice in the park's vehicle tour on Jurassic Park. So during when they're driving around in the automated cars, he's the voiceover for all of that. So yeah, and that's a clearly much more widely seen film than any of the ones I've seen him in. It also stars Charles McGraw, who I've seen it in 12 films now, alongside the likes of The Defiant Ones and The Narrow Margin. So yeah, really rather prolific actor in my overall filmography in terms of the films I've seen. And this is about DC Police Captain Frank Matthews, who, on the evening of his decoration for bringing a murderer to justice, his wife and her lover are murdered in bed. Jailed as a prime suspect with the aforementioned murderer released on a technicality, Matthews escapes in search of the man he believes to be the real killer. So, yeah, this is darker, a lot darker than the previous film. I'm not quite as entertaining as PJ, but it is just as engrossing and well executed. The cast as a whole is really good, while Peppard's character has some really rather solid characterization to him. It is well paced, has decent thematic weight to it, because this whole idea of Pendulum is it swinging too much in favour of helping the criminals in terms of the law, or is it swinging too much in terms of helping citizens and those who aren't lawbreakers? And yeah, the judge at the trial of the murderer who gets let off basically said, we feel like it's swung one way too far rather than the other, or it's not really in the middle anymore. So yeah, that's where the name Pendulum comes from. The score is also really rather well done. The cinematography is on point, and the violence is well executed in a nicely effective manner. So yeah, overall, a really, really good film. Like I said, not quite as entertaining or as light-hearted in some regards like PJ. PJ, although it had its darker moments, still had a little bit of a bravado to it, especially with its lead character, who was, no matter what was happening to him, he was trying to keep put a brave face on everything. Whereas this is inevitably a lot darker. So I only give it 4 out of 5, but that is only half a star lower than PJ, because it is, at the end of the day, still a really, really good film, really rather engrossing. And like I said, it's got thematic weight to it, which really wasn't the case for PJ. So yeah, and you can also see the difference in terms of its depiction of violence over PJ, even though it's only a year difference in terms of the releases of the films. This is right around the same time as more violence was becoming more prevalent in America, either in real life or in films. It was just, violence was just spiking, and it was not helped obviously by the whole media representation of violence at the time. Violence was becoming more known to the public, not just in terms of newspapers, but on TV, via news stations. And this is, along those kind of lines, is in terms of depicting the violence. It's not showy violence or anything like that. It is just clear cut, to the point. It kind of reminded me of Targets in a lot of ways in terms of the way that it depicted violence. So, it's really good in that regard. Unfortunately, there aren't any extras on this disc for some reason, as you can see. Just complete blank. So yeah, which is a bit of a shame. I'm sure there are things you could say about this film from audio commentaries or interviews or even archival interviews, but for whatever reason there isn't anything regarding anything like that on this disc. So that's a little bit of a shame, but still, the film itself is good. The 1080p presentation looks really rather nice as well. There's no flaws really in it in that regard. So at least in terms of the actual film itself, that is it's a really, really worthwhile release. It's a shame there's nothing else to accompany it by. But nonetheless, thank you for watching. If you've seen this film before, I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. But if you're into these kind of neo-noir kind of thrillers from the 60s, early 70s, then I do highly recommend it. But yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.